Okay, so in this video we're gonna be comparing the Apple Watch Series 1 to the Apple Watch Series 5. So let's get started. First of all, you can see that they look completely different. I mean, that is due to the fact that with the release of the Apple Watch Series 4, we got a new design of the watch where the screen got a lot bigger and it's now edge-to-edge screen. For you to see it, the best way is to simply open up the flash feature or just turn it on. You can see which portions of the screen are actually filled with the white image. So you can see this is the entire display and how you can actually see it properly, how much bigger it actually got. But of course, the Apple Watch Series 1 is technically not the first generation of the product, because there has been the first one, which was called unofficially Series 0, but it was the Series 0, then the Series 1, so this is technically the second generation, and the Apple Watch Series 5 is technically the sixth generation, if that makes sense. So, they are a couple of years spread apart. The Apple Watch Series 5 has been released this year on the September 20th, so it's pretty much new. This one has received positive critics, and it has been praised for its extremely well built and quality. I know it is very hard to compare these kind of products because the difference is actually huge, but I kind of thought that it would be a fun video to show you how far we have actually got since the release of the Series 1. As you know, I didn't upgrade to the second or third, not even the fourth generation, and I went ahead and bought the fifth generation of the Apple Watch. You can see the Nike band. I mean, take a look at of course, go ahead and take a look at the unboxing video if you are interested in that, and there you would see everything, what it looks like inside the box and with the bands and everything. Of course, obviously the first and the biggest difference is the screen size. You can see that now it fills the entire front panel. It's not just like a square on the top of the Apple Watch. But what I want to point out is that you can still buy the Apple Watch and get it in two sizes. You either get the smaller one, which has the 40mm screen, or 44 for the bigger one. But until the Apple Watch Series 4, we had the option to go for 38mm or 42mm. So this was actually a difference, and with the increased size, we have definitely much more room to play with the watch and use all of the apps. Well, when it comes to the software, they technically pretty much both run the Apple Watch 6.1. So when it comes to that, you have the same features, you have the same stuff, but of course the internals are a lot older, and that means that the Series 1 is going to be very slow, and for some everyday tasks it may be okay to get some notifications and stuff, but I wouldn't really dare to play any sort of games on it or to use it as my main device to reply to emails and stuff. Of course, the Apple Watch is a little bit older for this kind of fun, but the Series 4 and 5 are really capable new pieces of tech, and this one can do pretty much anything you would want to do with the watch. Another very big difference is that the Apple Watches have become really independent from the iPhone. That means that back in the day when the Apple Watch Series 0 was popular, or perhaps this Series 1, you couldn't really do a lot without a phone nearby or in your pocket or something. And this one has GPS, of course, everything is built in, and this is even the cellular version. You can tell by the red ring on the digital crown that this is the cellular. So you technically have many options, and that means that you don't even really need your iPhone anymore, and you can do all of the stuff with the watch. I mean, there are people doing this challenges when they tell themselves to not use their iPhone and just use the Apple Watch as their main device, because it is technically possible. Not saying that you would want to do it, but it is possible, and with the Series 1, you didn't really have many options when it comes to the independency from the iPhone. The next kind of a big difference is that the Series 5 now has the always-on display, but it's not just difference between the Series 5 and the Series 1. It is, of course, difference between the Series 5 and any other Apple Watch. It's not present on the older models. This is like a clearly feature of the Series 5. But that means that if I just rest my palm like that, but let me just attach the watch like that, now you can see that the Apple Watch is now turned on normally. I can do stuff with it. But now if I tap it like that, it doesn't turn black. It just doesn't go off, and it's gonna be like that all the time. Of course, this is the always on display. A great addition to it is that it doesn't work if you take the Apple Watch off of your wrist. That is due to the fact that you probably don't need to have it always on since you don't have it on your wrist. And now if I place my palm like this, it's gonna go dark. So this is the good thing about it, that the Apple Watch actually knows when you are wearing the watch and when it doesn't really need to have the always on feature turned on. Another difference in the display is not only that it is bigger, but the difference is also in the brightness, where the peak brightness of the Series 1 was just 450 nits, and it was just a classic OLED Retina display, which was also pretty good that it is an OLED display. It didn't really, back in the day it wasn't like a normal thing, in 2015 actually, but it's great that we had it, and it has the Force Touch technology in it, but it's not that bright, where the peak brightness of this one is 1000 nits. So it's a huge difference, it's a huge step up, of course, always on display, and it's the one LTPO OLED Retina display, of course, with the Force Touch as well. So the displays got really developed since the first generation. If you're now probably thinking about buying the Apple Watch Series 1 just because it's kinda cheap, I have to warn you or give you this information that you can still pair it to some older devices. For example, the Apple Watch Series 1 can be paired with the iPhone 5 and later device, and who uses iPhone 5 anymore? So to pretty much every single iOS 10 or later running device. Whereas the Series 5 can only be paired with the device that supports it, and that is every iOS 13 device, so iPhone 6s and later. So it's kind of limited. Don't expect to pair the Apple Watch Series 5 with something like the iPhone 6 or so. It's just not going to work. Another quite big difference, and this is a huge improvement, is that we have so much more storage available when it comes to the Series 5. Here we have 32 gigs of storage available, and you can pretty much put some music here, download as many apps as you want. Of course, 32 gigs is a lot. I still know people who use 16 gigs of an iPhone, like 16 gigabytes on an iPhone 6, for example. So 32 gigs on, so you can see my capacity is actually 25 gigs. So it's not the entire 32 because you obviously have or need to have some space for the software and everything. This is like it always works. For example, if you have the 16 gigabytes iPhone, don't expect to have the entire 16 gigs. But with the Series 1, you only had 8 gigs. So this is quite a jump, I would say. As I was already talking about the speed, of course, the Apple Watch Series 5 is obviously faster, but this is not only due to the fact that we had improved chip in this, but we also have double the amount of RAM when you compare it to the Series 1 or Series 0. Back then the RAM was only at 500 megabytes, and now it's a whole 1 gig of RAM on a wearable device like on the Apple Watch, which is kind of unbelievable. If you would say something like this back in the day that you're gonna wear a device with 1 gigabyte of RAM, people wouldn't probably believe you. So I kind of find it fascinating. But the 1 gig of RAM is not specified, or is not only part of the Series 5, but also of the Series 4, the previous generation. But one interesting thing, which is the addition of the Series 5 and solely of this model, is that we have a Compass app. I know it would be, people would expect it to have it on like every single Apple Watch. It's not been here. It has just been added recently, and this is actually how it works. And if you turn it around, of course, it's just showing you it's a Compass app, like what would you expect? But it works. It's not based off the internet connection or anything. It's a real and built-in compass that works and is actually very useful. So you not only use it, for example, in the actual compass app to tell you the directions and stuff, but you can also use it in the Maps app, and there it's going to show you where the Apple Watch is headed, and it's actually very helpful in my opinion. Of course, quick disclaimer, do not try to download any kind of compass apps to your old Apple Watches. Even though you may be able to find it on the App Store, it's just not going to work because the hardware requirements are not met, so don't expect it to work, and if it tells you that it works, it just doesn't. The discontinuing process of Apple Watches is kind of interesting in my opinion. Like, for example, if you just take a look at the first generation of the Apple Watch, I mean, it lasted like 1 year until the second generation came out. That one was there for 2 years, but the second generation was probably the least successful model, which only lasted 1 year, and the first generation, this one was available on the Apple's website and in the Apple Store for 2 years. So I don't know what's going on in there. For example, the Series 4 has also been discontinued already, while the Series 3 is still available. So it's kind of a weird thing. Perhaps it is here to, I mean, in order not to confuse customers, and rather make them pay for the Series 5 if they want to get the new design and new look. If you plan on getting the Series 1, it's probably not the best idea since it is very slow, the performance isn't really good at all. So I wouldn't really recommend you getting that unless you get it for like a really great price. But for about $200, you are already able to get the Series 3 brand new and from the Apple Store. So I don't know, it probably doesn't pay off to search for the Series 1 anymore, because it's just that old and that slow. Unless, like I said, if you get it for like $50 and you don't really care about anything, you just want to look cool, that you have the Apple Watch, don't care what kind of version it is or series, then it may not be the worst idea out there, but yeah, just keep in mind that it's actually very slow. But overall, the Apple Watch is a great piece of tech. I love it so much. And if you want to see more videos regarding the Apple Watch, make sure you click on the red button, which of course says nothing else than subscribe. You can also try to click on the bell next to it just to see what happens, of course. You never know what's going to happen if you click it. But anyways, also like the video if you enjoyed it. This is pretty much it. It's Lucas from Apple Fox, and see you guys later in the next video. Peace out, guys.